judges that governs how matters judiciary are administered. And Article 172 of the, is it 172, 173 of the Constitution clearly says the main role of the JSC is to facilitate and protect the independence of the judiciary. That's the most important thing for the JSC. Yeah.
Thank you, Julie. And taking from what you have just explained to us, and this means that structurally, the Judicial Service Commissions should be geared towards ensuring their independence and competence and expertise. And historically, as you have also mentioned, when we look at the 1963 Independence Constitution, when we look at the 1969 Repealed Constitution, it is very clear that there was first no representative of the Law Society of Kenya, and then also it was clear that there was no provision for mandatory input by other stakeholders in the composition of the Judicial Service Commission. Moving on to the Constitution of Kenya Review Commission Draft Constitution, it proposed an 18-member commission which was comprised of 2 advocates nominated by the Law Society of Kenya, 2 law teachers elected by faculties of law of public universities, 1 member nominated by the Council of Legal Education. Moving on to the 2004 Bomas draft, which proposed 8 members, and two of these members were to be nominated, advocates nominated by the LSK. That was taken also to the revised harmonized draft that largely retained the Bomas draft, and meaning it retained the 2 advocates that were proposed in the Bomas draft. And this also goes down to what we retained, the Constitution of Kenya 2010. We have 2 representatives to the Judicial Service Commission. So my question goes to Senior Counsel Nasir. Would 5 representatives of the LSK have been an ideal design in ensuring the independence, proper functioning, and competencies of the Judicial Service Commission?
Yes, thank you very much. I think, as I said when I was giving my keynote address, is that lawyers are the most important constituent in the Judicial Service Commission. I mean, I was just looking at the history you enumerated. I mean, if you, for example, appoint law lecturers into the JSC, what value would they add? You will ask. I mean, someone who teaches in either Parklands or in Methodist University. You know, the essence of the JSC is to not just regulate the judiciary, but to improve, you know, the delivery of justice, to help with the courts be more independent. So the most important constituency really is lawyers, because, I mean, this is our bread and butter. This way we go to work every morning. And also, you have to understand also the history of this. Law lecturers have played no role in this, you know, change in the judiciary. It's only, the only constituency that have changed the history of the judiciary are lawyers in the Kenyan public. But it is lawyers that have spearheaded this process right from the 80s, you know, when GBM Kariuki was chairman of Law Society, the 90s, and it goes on. So we are the only constituency that is engaged on a 24-hour basis with the judiciary. No other constituency is engaged with the judiciary. I mean, it would have been better, you know, if we had more representatives. And whereas you may understand, you know, so many levels of the judiciary having their own representative, you know, the magistrates, the High Court, the Court of Appeal. Once you have so many judges, the only, again, counterbalancing force is lawyers. And I think it would have been a good idea if we had maybe 3, maximum 4 members of the Law Society. Because, I mean, nobody understands the problem of the judiciary like we do. Nobody has the interest of the judiciary like we do. I mean, the judges are more protective. I mean, Tom will tell you that judges are very protective of their members. And their members also hold them accountable on so many issues. But we are different. As we look at the broader issues, we look at the broader national interest, we look at all these issues. And even, it's not our own self-interest, we look at the interest of the judiciary. And I think it may not be the right time, but I want to tell Tom when he goes back there that the government is so obsessed with controlling the judiciary, and I think it's a good thing from, if you look at the reaction of government, they are unable to control the judiciary. And that's why nowadays you see these videos, you have seen these videos, you have seen these pictures of Sijin massage parlors, defaming the courts, I mean, these are not, this is not lawyers making it. This is the state making those videos. It's the state making those pictures. It's the state making those issues. And why are they making it? Because they are unable to capture the judiciary. If they will have captured it, they will not have made it. And the judges they are vilifying are judges they are unable to capture or control. The judges they are in good terms with, they don't say anything about them. So I think as lawyers, let us always keep that in mind, that we are the first and last line of defense when it comes to the judiciary.
Thank you very much. And let me also invite Professor to weigh in on the same issue. Looking at history once again, the Constitution of Kenya Review Commission draft had a different wording to what we have today. It spoke of 2 advocates nominated by the Law Society of Kenya. Right now we elect. Do you think there was some mischief in that intention to have the LSK nominate as opposed to elect?
Thanks, Occasion. Thanks for the opportunity to respond to that question. If you look at the evolving Bomas draft, the Wako draft, and finally the draft that was done by the Committee of Experts, the term election came in because the constituency of both lawyers and judges was elected so that there was representation that came directly from the people. It, I think, borrows directly from Article 1, that even amongst the professions, you needed to have an election so that JSC was a body that truly reflected what the members of that specific organization or community desired as the representatives to the JSC. Remember, we were moving from a controlled appointment where we had the chair of PSC, the Chief Justice, propose names to the President, and where the President then appointed judges at night. I remember, for instance, watching Judge Ombija being sworn at 8 p.m. Without a process. There was never a process. And we needed, the Constitution of Kenya 2010 created a shift in philosophy. You can imagine if the Law Society nominated a representative to the JSC. Of course, that would not be reflective of the desires of the members, because a nominee would be a nominee that would fit the desire of the president of the Law Society of the moment. And I shudder to imagine whether that person would represent the shades of opinion of the members of the society. An election was the best thing that was reflected in Article 171, and I think we must stick to that to election. I think that tells me one point, and brings in the question whether we should allow other forces to give us representatives. Can you see those forces? Okay.
It's gone very clearly, Prof. Thank you for that. Let me invite Eric and also Senior Nasir to then tell us, what do we look for in someone who we want to represent our interests at the JSC? What qualities do we look for?
Thank you, Okesha, for that. I've served in the Council of the Law Society, and I know for a fact that the advocates who participate in the affairs of the Law Society, and there are those who sit on the periphery. And when we are electing a representative for the Law Society, we want to look at the track record of that representative. If they have been in the profession for the last 10 or 15 years, what service have they given to the profession? When you serve the profession, you always do it on a pro bono basis. I can see Steve Ongaro here. He's done cases for the Law Society. I know my senior, both of them, senior counsel, have done cases for the Law Society, and all of them are done on pro bono basis. And that has been the history of the Law Society. We give back to the society. So you want to ask yourself, for a representative, an advocate who seeks to represent you, and for the last 20 odd years has never attended an AGM, is that somebody really who has the interest of the society at heart? Because we sit at the AGM, and sometimes it can be a very painful exercise because we have to wait for the MBA to finish. And even this time we had to be given lunch because it can be really strenuous. But if somebody is not willing to donate their time for the good of the society, then why would they want to seek to represent the society? For their own gain? Because when you represent the society, as Senior Manasseh has said, you just don't represent LSK, you represent the broader interest of the society. So for me, what I would look for in any person who seeks to represent the society is, what has been your contribution to the society? If there is none, please avoid that person. Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, I agree with you. First, I have, the position of the male or female representative in the JSC is very important. I think it's very close to that of the chairman. And I'm not being radical, but in my view, if you have a passion for representing our members, and I think it's good to have that passion should not be about an office that is at the apex of what lawyers can elect. Why don't you start with a council member? Why don't you, lead those agitation at the low level, climb the ladder, go on? That's what we used to have actually during my time and the professor's time. You could not just say that I want to become chairman of the law society. You must first go to the council so that you see how the council works, how the law society works. Then after that you come. I was a little bit in a hurry. I was in the council for a year only before I became a chairman. But it is good at least to know these things, and it's very important. Also, one other issue, I think, when you represent your members in bodies after developing certain convictions over time. When I was chairman of the law society, I told the CJ that we should stop appointment of magistrates to become judges. It was very unpopular with the magistrates, and because in England they do that. England, when you become a magistrate, you stay there until you retire. You don't become a judge in England. You only become a judge if you are from the bar, and only if you are, a pastor. Probably most 90% are from Oxford and Cambridge. There, people look at pedigree, and when you ask for those in Kenya, they think you are snobbish. But one thing, I developed when I was in the law society, and I think Prof should look into is, when you represent your members, you must, even during appointments, have that in mind. Because I used to tell you guys, and I still hold the view, that the best judges are lawyers who practice law. Yes. That, you can take it to the bank or to an M-Pesa agent, but that's...
Thank you, Senior, for those remarks. And just also to weigh in on the issue of term limits. Zimbabwe, interestingly, provides for a one-term limit for 6 years, all 6 years, I mean. On the other hand, we have the ability to elect after 5 years for a member to seek another term. As Senior Kurgat mentioned, why do we want to claw back what the law has given us? So maybe Senior Soweto, if you can, weigh in on the issue. Do you think another term ensures continued commitment and possibly a chance to inject fresh ideas?
I think each society has a right to do what it seems best for it. But in our case, the Constitution has provided for it, and we think it's good. Continuity also is actually a very good thing. I like the fact that we have even staggered so that the two members are not elected at the same time and they don't leave at the same time, so that there is some institutional memory. Then those who seek to capture the society of members through people, that mischief is dealt with because there's somebody else who remembers what was supposed, the work that was to be done, and gets it done and passes on that on to the next person. Why would we should have limited also the term of the President of the Republic? I think get them out as quickly as we are unhappy with them. In this case, I think if our member is doing well, let them do the work. Let the people decide which is what they're doing. That's what democracy is.
Thank you. Senior Nationals?
Frankly, I don't understand, this debate about term limits. It's not an issue for me. We don't have a candidate who has run for 3, 4, 5 terms. If the Constitution says, a maximum of 2 terms, I think I will have no problem with that. Normally, the first term, you learn how this place works. The second term, there's a lot of work to do. But in my view, term, I don't know why someone is raised. People should not be in a hurry to take someone's position. I don't know why someone should say that you served 5 years, let me serve 5. If someone has served well during the first 5 and members think that he should be given another 5, it's for the members to decide. If they say that, you have not served as well, we want to change, again, that's for the members to decide. But I don't really get it, why people should complain that someone has served a term for 5 years, you should not serve a second term. This is not like arrangement, where someone serves 5 years, then someone else is replaced. It's the people who elect. If they think that someone has served well as for 5 years and we want to give him another term, it is fine, I think.
Let me just say something small about that. The purpose for which we go into an election is to actually assess the candidate. That is the reason why we go into an election. So that our candidate stands, we assess him. If he served in office, we look at his service and we say, if his service was satisfactory, we appoint him. If it wasn't, it is an accountability mechanism that we cannot take away from ourselves. And I find that that line of argument that you only serve 1 term is only advanced by those people who do not believe in the supremacy of the voter. Somebody thinks that we are not so clever to be able to assess a candidate and decide whether that candidate has been able to serve our interests or not. And I want to ask the members in this room, are we saying that as lawyers, the cream of the society, we are not able to look at a candidate and assess whether he served or not? Are we? Are we able to do that?
Yes.
So if we are able to do that, why should any other candidate be afraid to face a candidate who is seeking re-election? That is something that should weigh on your mind. Is this a person who really believes in their ability? Because we are looking for the best candidate, not just any candidate. And the Englishmen have said, when it is not broken, don't fix it.
Thank you, Eric. And maybe just as you have the mic, do you think the Law Society of Kenya has done enough?
I thought, this issue of the debate, you should ask Prof whether he's tired or...
Yes, Prof. Are you tired?
You know that I come from a history of service. For my colleagues who may not know, I became chairman, now president of the Law Society after Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi Senior Counsel. Thereafter, I became president of East African Law Society, vice president of African Lawyers Union, council member, International Bar Association, and I went to JSC. Essentially, I have served. These are bodies where you serve you serve for free. It's service, you're not paid. You get an allowance to travel, but you don't get paid a salary. You're giving back to the profession, like Erica said. And I'll tell you that that is important because that is how you test service to the profession. Yes, Governor. I am ready to serve, and I have applied amidst all the roadblocks that I have faced. I was not supposed to be in the ballot because a requirement was placed ahead of me. Thanks to council, I think we used a 4-wheel and we bypassed that roadblock. But other roadblocks were placed further. I battled or struggled with the case touching on the use of a government car, which I have never driven, only driven by my driver. And the claim was that he had used it on a weekend, on a Saturday. I do not know where my driver goes on a Saturday. And let me tell you, the most dramatic experience came from the requirement of KRA. Let me share this for the first time. Those of you who are on the net on, or who are on, can check JR 471 of 2016, which is a case I filed and won against KRA. And that case came after the hiring of the Chief Justice, or in the process of hiring the Chief Justice. And some surplus taxes were made against me. They were eventually quashed by the court. So 2017, 2018, I continued getting my tax clearances. I've had them from 2009. I've had them every year. In the last 2 years, I paid taxes of about 26 million shillings, equivalent to 1 million a month. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you this, that the roadblocks, the tax roadblocks, were placed and were deliberate because the same day LSK released nominations is the same day my tax compliance expired. Same day. But I got another tax clearance in my Nakuru office, so I was compliant in Nakuru, but here they said, they forgot because the Nakuru office does not have my name. So that's the advantage of having different names. Fast forward, a directive was given from the Commissioner General himself that I should not be given a tax clearance until I paid the taxes that were the subject of JR 471 of 2016 that were quashed by the court. So we are told comply in spite of the judgment, then we give you. And that's irrespective of the fact that in 2018 you have surplus taxes. I paid surplus taxes of 1,103,000 in 2018. If I was frail, or if I did not want to face conflict, I would have dropped out, because I was also given an express message not to run for a second term. And when I was arrested on the 28th of December 2018 for doing fake cases which are reported on EKLR, because you just Google the case and you find it there. I was told they're fake. But I have instructions and they are on EKLR. I did them. I do them probably before fake judges and fake courts. And I'll tell you this, that again I was approached and told by the investigators. And because they didn't understand what JSC was, they were telling, what is this? We were told, hii mambo ya JSC, siwache JSC, tuwache hizi vitu. But they didn't understand what JSC was, so they were telling me, leave JSC. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you this. It has not been easy walking in this direction. It has not been easy defending this seat or making a choice to run for a second term. It is not easy. Accusations have been made, including what Senior Counsel says here, that I must leave JSC because I control JSC. I am 1 out of 11 members. I am not aware that I control JSC. So ladies and gentlemen, it is not easy, but your support counts. And I said that against every odds, I will defend my position at JSC as donated by Article 171(4), and the choice will be yours whether to vote me or not for a second term. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. I want to open the floor for questions from the floor, because I know many of the ladies and gentlemen here want to interrogate you on some questions. And so I will ask Gore to help me take questions. And as he does that, we are going to have 3 questions. 3 questions, please. So just shoot your hand. So, Gore, have you seen? I've seen there are 2 on that side. Yes, Sylvester.
Thank you very much. My name is Sylvester Midi, and many of you call me, I don't know, Despot Slayer. I'm very passionate about what is happening in my profession. I became very vocal about a year ago, and then people said, of course, I'm very close to Nelson Harry, that's why he's here. Now, my question is to Mr. Abel Nasir, Senior Counsel. I think it is a constitutional requirement or a principle that we have regional balance in the JSC, in any body, regional and ethnic balance. And I say this not because I support Tom Ojienda or I think our opponents are strong, but I think I should not be in the race for the reason that we cannot have 2 members of the legal profession from the same region and ethnic community. So do you think by virtue of them, by virtue of the other candidates or the other member being from that region, that some of the candidates who are from that region should be?
Thanks, Sylvester. At least we got that.
Can I get another 1 or 2 questions?
Let's give priority to the other 2 hands.
Yeah, just a minute, please. There is another issue, which is if you, as lawyers, we want a representative that is, Senior Counsel said, not on the same pedestal in states, and we have a candidate who has been a perennial state appointee in different bodies. Do you think that person can be our representative in JSC when has always been appointed to be this? And for your information, I do not think you get interviewed for state appointments.
Thanks, Sylvester.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. We got those 2. Gore, 1 more from that side. And then at the front.
Yes.
So please.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Paulo Getty. talked about everything else, but you've not told us how wonderful a job you've done in the past, in actually your current sitting as a JSC member. Can you please explain to members seated here the kind of job that has been going on in the judiciary?
Thanks, Paul. That is brief and to the point. Finally, one last question. There's a question here at the front. Go on.
Hi, my name is Irene Fwaya, and just building up on his question, my question is to you, Professor Jenda. What assurance are you going to give to us that you're going to break the cycle that seems to be there, that we only check your work when you want to be re-elected, as opposed to in the middle when you say, oh, I'm going to do this, and then 3 months we cannot check you. So my main question is, what assurance?
Thanks, Irene. Let me pass off my microphone here, just to the table here.
Good evening. I'm Jackie Manani. Mine is not a question, but just some comments. I have known Tom since I was in the university, so I don't call him prof, I call him Tom because when he taught me he was not a professor. So we were not used to professor, I don't know what, so to me it's just Tom. And I think my class were his guinea pigs. We were the second guinea pigs because the class ahead of me, my seniors by 1 year, and then our class. Because I remember very well, Tom had just finished his master's and then he came to teach at Moi University where I went to school. And we were his guinea pigs, and he did a fantastic job. I am proud of myself because I think he did a good job for me. So Tom being at JSC, I have no doubt about his capacity. Completely, no doubt. And if you ask me the last 5 years, I think there's been quite a lot of work that has been done. How many of you have read this Sustaining Judiciary Transformation Framework? Do you people know about it? Google. Tom was in JSC when that document was developed, and there are fantastic ideas in there. I have heard people saying judiciary has no strategy, or the role of a board member, the role, JSC is a board. But Sustaining Judiciary Transformation Framework is a strategic plan, in my view. And if Tom was seated there when it was being done, that is exactly the role he played as a board member. So therefore, he has that ability of a board member to be able to come up with policies that will be able to transform an institution. So I keep hearing this all the time. Today I looked, someone was complaining about clerks asking for money for them to be able to be given services. How is a JSC member supposed to be able to control a person's personal values and integrity? Even if you were to change Tom today and put in someone else, will that person be sitting in court with a stick to beat the clerks, to check what exactly is expected of a member of the Judicial Service Commission with regard to integrity of officers, regard to integrity of judges and magistrates and even the clerks? Is it, micromanaging, or is it at that level where you put in proper policies in place that are then able to weed out the rotten apples? If you know a clerk is asking for money, what is your role as an advocate? Have you gone to report that clerk? Have you gotten evidence? Have you given it to professor? Have you given it to Mercy so that they are able to act on it? You don't just sit in your office and complain, right? Because they're not angels to know what's going on everywhere, particularly with the clerks. And so I think there are some things which are being, taken to certain extremes. JSC does not have one member; it's 11 members. You can't tell me that one person will come in today and alone will be able to weed out all the corrupt clerks. Alone will be able to, ensure efficiency and effectiveness in delivery of justice. Really? That is what the impression we have been given.
Thanks.
And the last thing I want to say, I want to give you my own personal experience. I worked in a certain organization, a public institution, in which we were tax was being deducted, pay as you earn, and the organization apparently was not remitting that tax. So one day I applied for a job, and I go to KRA to get a tax compliance certificate. And I am told, hey, sorry, you have outstanding tax, penalties, and interest. How now? I am shown. I go to my employer, meets up, I don't know what, all that. I couldn't get tax clearance, and I needed it for this job application. What did I do? I had to pay. You can imagine if that lack of a tax compliance certificate was taken to mean that I'm a person lacking integrity. Meanwhile, my payslip is there showing I have been paying these taxes, but they have not been remitted. Whose fault is that? It's not my fault, isn't it? So if you use a lack of a tax compliance certificate as an indicator that a person lacks integrity, really? Are we serious? I think we need to get serious and determine for ourselves who is this who lacks integrity, who is this who is straight. There are those who are telling us they are persons of integrity, here and there, but there are things we know about them. So let's, we have grown-ups, we've gone to school. Sorry, I have so much passion. We've grown up, we've gone to school. Now my last point. The day I decided once and for all that I am voting Tom, come rain, come sunshine, is the day I started seeing funny blogs about Tom. I don't know what, you're putting funny things on the media. Hey, it's really, the moment you start doing that, it tells me, you're afraid of Tom. So basically, he's the right guy to be there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jackie. And one last one from Sylvia.
My name is Abdullahi. I would like to ask 2 questions to Professor. This is my first meeting I'm attending for Professor, and I would like to get his mind on this, his agenda. First, Prof, can you tell us what is your agenda for JSC, number 1? Number 2, why do you think you're better placed to serve a second term than all the other candidates, 4 of them? Tell us. 3. Are they 3 or 4? The rest, what are they? Because I was seeing for posting horses, donkeys, and moles. So now I was thinking there were 4. Okay, so tell us why are you better than them, whatever they are.
Thank you very much. I think, Professor, that is a good place to start. Please elaborate your agenda.
Let me start with the easiest question from the corner on a reporting mechanism. We have an inbuilt reporting mechanism and feedback to the membership. At every annual general meeting, we file a report with the membership on what we have done the previous year. And we did that on 30th of March 2019, a report that is part of the annual general meeting report of the Law Society of Kenya. So at least there's that mechanism there. But aside that mechanism, we are always available on the WhatsApp groups. Our phone numbers are common ground and are shared. And whenever members have complaints, they call us and we table those complaints directly on the table of the Commission, and solutions are given, often instantly, where, for instance, a magistrate or judge does not sit in Kapsabet, a DR has gone on leave without permission in Nyeri, or there are complaints of a judge or magistrate who is on the take, and we need to commence investigations through the output. We are able to deal with those questions. So there is no fear that there will be no feedback given once I'm elected to the JSC. On the question asked by Sylvester, that is asked to Ahmed Nasir, why we will respond to that question. Let me respond to your question. And to Henry's question. Your question and Henry's question deal with our successes in the last 5 years as JSC. My blueprint, or the 3 pillars on which I seek a re-election, is 1, building a strong judiciary or independent judiciary, continuing to afford access to justice as a platform, And lastly, sustaining judiciary transformation, or SJT, which are 7 pillars of the platform. I recognize the fact that JSC is a body corporate, and for the time being, we are driven by the blueprint of the Chief Justice, which drives our agenda, the SJT, and which emphasizes digitization as a pillar. You know that we are on course on digitization. The Tax and Commercial Division of the High Court has 78 law firms in pilot. It is fully digitized now. We have e-filing, we have electronic recording of proceedings. Soon, and because now there are funds, we will have stenographers typing proceedings in this division. We have Kisumu and Mombasa as pilot. The delay in digitization was as a result of the budgetary cut that Senior Counsel Ahmed Nasir has referred to, and because of the problem that we had after the second tie of election. And you know that for about 6 months, the JSC could not even pay sitting allowances to its members. We would have meetings without even payment of sitting allowance or even water, because the budget of the judiciary and of the JSC was swept to finance the second election after the presidential election was nullified. So we had to pay the price as part of the institutions that caused the problem then. Let me move away from that. Apart from digitization, we have emphasis on non-corruption and the clearance of backlog. I think in the last few months, about 170,000 cases have been dealt with, cases that are over 5 years old. That has been as a result of a program where judges are deployed to service weeks to deal with old files. Now, the other pillar that is important is emphasized in Pillar 1, and that is access to justice. We have had a concerted effort in completing construction of courts to foster access to justice through providing good facilities to judicial officers and comfortable courts to members of the public and practicing advocates. We have so far completed 54 courts, some of which were commenced or started. In fact, most of which were started during the agreement between the World Bank and GOK under the Judiciary Performance Improvement Project, or JP project, which is 70% funded by World Bank, 30% GOK. I will tell you that now you have fantastic courts, and we have completed 54 of those courts. 12 are brand new. We are completing high courts in Mandera. We are completing high courts in Marsabit, and we are completing high courts in Isiolo as a result of these projects. And you can see improvements in many courts in the counties. We now have Kapsabet, we are about to commence Eldoret, we have Kitale that is also supposed to commence. We have only today launched the Court of Appeal in Mombasa. And these are projects that need a bit of a push. That is why in the last 2 weeks the JSC has been out there trying to push contractors to complete some of these courts. The Court of Appeal edifice in Nakuru is almost done, 75% complete. It will be open on 30th of November, together with the High Court in Nanyuki. These are some of the gains that are feasible. In the front of the other developments or improvements, over the last 2 years, we have employed over an additional 250 magistrates. We used to have 362, now we have 582 magistrates. Now, aside that, we have also increased the number of judicial staff from 3,600 to 5,800. Apart from that, we now have 56 caddies from the previous 15 caddies that we had about 4 years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, the judiciary has continued to grow, and it is this growth that I want to be part of. I have been part of this growth. I want to see these judicial officers achieve and enhance judicial independence. You know that only 4 weeks ago we advertised for 20 positions of ELC judges to make up for the deficit in the ELC court. Of course, the ideal that all of us would want to see is an amendment to Article 1622 so that we have divisions of the High Court. We also have an additional 10 ELRC courts for judges that we'll be employing. And this just demonstrates that you have a JSC that is committed to rendering better services to the citizenry. On the question of independence, I shudder when I think of the possibility where the executive and the judiciary would function as one, for the greatest loss would be the loss of the personal liberty of the public. Because always, the doctrine of checks and balances is important. We must grow an independent judiciary for the legal profession to thrive. If we kill independence at the altar of expediency, if we kill independence at the altar of convenience, if we kill independence because we want to elect a person that has been given to us by the executive, then I can assure you that you are inflicting a threat to the practice of law and to yourselves. Thank you.
There was a question for you, Senior Nasser, on regional balance.
I think we need to look at it from two perspectives. One, if members of the law side, for instance, in the wisdom or lack of it, elect two members from the same communities, whether they are Kikuyus, whether they are Somalis, whether they are Luyas, I think we have to respect that because the members have decided that the best two members who can represent us are X and Y. That I have no problem. The problem I have with, and I've expressed this variously, is for the president, because he appoints two members of the public to the JSC, to only pick from certain communities every time he has that choice. That one is packing the JSC deliberately. That I have a problem with. I think if you are appointing those two members, you can appoint someone from Maseret, or Taita Taveta, or Kiambu. I have no problem with that. But you can't constantly pick from someone, for example, from Kricho. I think that I have a problem.
Thank you very much, Senior. And probably, Prof, we probably want to hear you weigh in on the issue of practice. Do you intend to continue practicing the next term?
Let me, on the question of practice, that's again 171. You know, I did the Mandela petition and I lost on the answer. And I think I'm the serving member of the JSC, I should have won. I lost. I did the Omabe petition and I lost to Kajama in both the High Court and the Court of Appeal. I think I lost the Court of Petition as well in the Court of, I won in the High Court, lost in the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court.
Even Mandela North, you lost to me.
Oh, and I lost to Happy. I mean, I can't lose all these cases, you know. And yet, someone thinks that I have an advantage. And when I lose cases on merit, I'm never one person who speaks. You never even know that I'm doing those cases. Because I go to court and I remember the way Judicial used to harass all of us in court. I don't think anyone sitting in court would even imagine that Ahmed was a previous member of JSC and probably the employer of Ochieng, And I think you proposed his name in that list of 35. So I think I was number 4. I was number 4 in that list. I didn't become judge. I became judge. So, and then you can see all this. There is no possibility of conflict because, as I agree with Linus, the decisional independence of a judge or magistrate is important, and a judge will not be moved if you have a weak case or a case that is both weak on law and in facts. You will lose that case. You are weak in presentation, at least you can only make noise and charge fees, but you lose the case. And if the client wants to go to the next level, go on appeal and move on because you're the client's advocate, not his judge. I always say that. So, occasionally, I do not see that there can be a conflict, because if there's a real conflict, not perceived conflict, then the judge can recuse himself. The other party can apply for recusal, or you can apply to go to the next court. I have never had an advantage because of JSC. I've lost too many cases for conflict.
Thank you so much, Prof.
Let me just say something small to it. When I was doing privilege, I was told that a lawyer never wins a case, neither does he lose a case. That's the reality. It's only your client who loses a case. So when you have a lawyer, the lawyer is just the engine of presenting a matter before court. He has no interest, other than in the case of Professor, his huge pay bill. There's no other interest. And so there's no situation where there can be a conflict because we are basically representing our client's case. Tomorrow they can decide midway to change and get another advocate. And so, and I keep saying that there are people who are insulting our intelligence as lawyers. Because we are basically operating on the premise that the judges and the judicial officers that we have in our courts are not competent to be sitting in that court. Can we really be calling ourselves members of the Premier Bar Association if we can operate on such assumptions? Are we really serious? Are those people who are trying to peddle those lies serious? Are they taking us seriously? Are we that cheap? And you have to look at it and see that there is an obvious lack of content in anybody who wants to advance that kind of argument. And so therefore, it should be plain and it should be obvious. And we keep saying that the law is clear. This is one, and of course it's never clear, but this is one situation where the law is very clear. There is no conflict of interest. And let us rest that matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Perfect parting shots on your part. Let's have a final word from Ms. Soweto.
I'm still trying to understand the question of conflict. I mean, is it presumed that the judge who the JSC member is appearing before is already before the JSC? Because why are we putting carts before horses? I don't get it. Either I am the one who is aware or... You see, because for a conflict to arise between judges, even presuming, then the judicial officer must anticipate that they will already be before the JSC and therefore should fear a particular JSC member. If you're doing your work correctly or properly, then you should not be landing before the JSC. I mean, I don't know. I don't get such dishonesty. I don't even think it's intellectual dishonesty. It's just dishonest.
Thank you very much, Ms. Soweto. And now I want to ask to close with Senior Nassim. Any last words?
I think we have said all that will be said. The elections are on 9th of May. Yes. And I think members should come and vote. It's a very important election. Not because Tom or Mashari is running and one of them will be elected. No, that's not the issue. It's important that our voice be heard when it comes to how the judiciary is run, how the judiciary is protected, and how the judiciary delivers. That's a very important exercise for me.
Thank you very much, Sine. So 9:15, a round of applause. Mr. Rachel will wrap it up for us, and then finally we'll hand over the mic to Prof for his last submissions.
And I realize that everybody here is a politician, and the only one who's not a politician. But I've thought about something that's happening a lot in our society, and that's the weaponization of prosecution, the use of institutions to terrorize people or to fight people, use of institutions such as KRA, such that we do not have respect for institutions. I cannot trust what comes out, and which is why it is important that we think about the principles that we have. If we're talking about presumption of innocence, we must also go back and see who is fighting, who's being used. Why is it that suddenly a tax compliance certificate becomes an issue? I am not a politician, but I represent politicians, and I see how we play with institutions to undercut or undermine or destroy people. I am a small person, but I remember after doing a big case, an institution, I have been practicing for so long, and the day the judgment was being entered, I had a notice from one of our institutions asking to inspect my books. We must be very careful to give powers, because those same powers will be used against you. It will be used against us if we do not safeguard and fight this abuse.
Can I just say one thing about, the point my learned friend just raised on tax compliance. Sometimes, the government uses certain institutions because it's the government really to settle certain scores. And I will give you an example with the JSC when I was a member. When we were recruiting the Chief Justice, and William Mutunga applied, and maybe they thought, he was the only lawyer who was in the race, all the others were judges. The Commissioner of KRA at that time, I think, wrote a letter to us specifically saying that please note that Willie is not tax compliant and we have not cleared him. So Willie at that time was working with the Ford Foundation, and of course the Ford Foundation remits his pay as you earn. So you have to understand, as an institution, there must be some games someone is playing here. So we just told them, get lost. We don't care whether you are we don't care whether you're giving him a certificate or not, and we just proceeded. So sometimes you have to understand, that there are people pulling strings somewhere, and it's not just what we're really seeing. There is a game behind these mechanizations.
Thank you very much, Sina. And now, over to you, Prof.
Thank you, Akeshi. Let me just say something that my learned friend, the governor of Kakamega County, has told me. That it may seem as if it is Professor Tom Ojeda today. It might seem as if it is Ahmed Nasir or Eric Theory today. You in your chambers doing an agreement, or you in your chambers filing a suit, will soon be summoned by the DCI to answer questions as to how you got instructions. And we've got there. And you may not have the media coverage, the live media coverage that I had when they came to my offices to look for my files. You will be alone. Ladies and gentlemen, these things that we are grappling with here, can get to you at an individual level. So you need to appreciate the misuse of power and how you can be targeted as an individual. That's what Julie's talking about. The Law Society should speak out. We should speak out against ills that are directed at individuals, that are directed at people. I see many of my cartoons. Today I was trending. I trend every day. When they do those funny cartoons, I also saw Harvey trending with a bag of money. I don't know where he got it from.
Where's the bag?
My last word. I seek your support in the coming elections. Please vote for me. You know, I've known Prof for a long time, and he sometimes tends to be a little bit humble. I usually am not that humble. But there's one thing I want to tell you, because we have been in the politics of the Law Society for a while, and we know. When you want to tell what a candidate stands for, you look at his friends. There was a candidate who had an event last week, and in that meeting he had Jubilee lawyers addressing that meeting as his invited guests. That tells you where his support is coming from. And it's as plain as that. Today, you're having Professor here, here's Ahmed Nasir. Ahmed Nasir has a track record, a proven track record of standing against impunity. And I want to ask all the lawyers here, let me just find out by show of hands, how many of you have never voted in an LSK election? Newly admitted, never voted. Just show your hands up. Show your hands up. Please just don't. You are almost like the majority in this room. And I want to tell you that this is a historical moment. History is calling on all of us to stand against impunity, to stand for the judiciary, because that is what the Law Society has traditionally done. There are people who have come before you who have sacrificed. Probably the school you went to, somebody donated that land for that school to be developed. You have all been warmed by fires you did not lit. So this is your time to repay. This is the time to repay the debt that you owe society by standing up for judicial independence. And I want to urge all of you, come the 9th of May, let's send a message, the strongest message that we possibly can. And we can only do it and can only do it through the vote. So those who don't believe that we are clever enough to be able to evaluate the candidates and to see what they stand for, we need to send them a clear message on the 9th of May, and we are all going to say that we believe Professor is the right candidate for this position, and we are going to vote him in. And we are not going just to do that, we're going to do that for the society, we're going to do it for our children, and we're going to do it for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, we are indeed going to do it, not just for us, but for our children and our future. A round of applause to all of our panelists, please, as they are asked to take their seats. Thank you very much. A round of applause. You have been a very wonderful audience tonight. Thank you very much for the tweeting. We are actually trending, and we're showing that we indeed stand for a fearless candidate. We stand for a candidate who is going to stand up for us and who's going to be our representative and stand up for the government. So I want to now invite Gor to wrap it up for us. Karibu Gor.
Umeme kwa panelists. Umeme well. Yeah, it is not that time I've been waiting for. I mean, I've listened well. And I hope you made your minds. There's no need to fix a chair which is not broken. And we have candidates of Prof here. And I also, on my own behalf and my future family, request you that you vote for Prof come the 9th of May. Now, to keep our house in order, we have 2 serving points. There's one, down there, there's a door there. So people from here, you just